This is my big red muscadine. It's a muscadine female variety called Big Red. It This is its first year producing any grapes. It's a 3-year-old vine, but when I first bought it, right after I planted it, it got bitten to the ground by, I'm guessing, a rabbit, and basically had to start over that next year. So it's really acting like a 2-year-old plant. But this is the first year of it producing a few grapes, just a handful. Pictures of this particular variety of grape are kind of hard to come by. There's the one picture on the Ison site, and that's the only one I know about. And so I want to kind of document these. They're of course not ripe. They will be kind of a maroon red when they are ripe. One comment I want to make is that so far they are about the same size as Supreme grapes, and I think they are supposed to be really big grapes, kind of like Supreme, and also supposed to be very high in sugar content. And why this vine has a reputation for being a slow grower, it does have a reputation of having just especially high quality grapes. So I'm going to try to monitor this vine and get more pictures of it later on. This one here is Black Beauty. This is also a 3-year-old vine. This is actually more like what a 3-year-old vine ought to look like. And it's got a fair number of grapes. A little bit disappointing if you were to compare it to what Supreme did when it was 3 years old, but still, you know, a fair smattering of grapes, and these are supposed to be really big like Supreme, so it will feel like a fair amount once the grapes are fully grown. Another 3-year-old is my late fry, and considering that these ripen about a month later than the others, over a month later than the others, it has not only a good crop, but the berries are really big, considering where they are in their development. And this is a self-fertile variety, and for a self-fertile variety, they are really big grapes, and they're actually quite a bit bigger grapes than what my other self-fertile variety, Ison, has on it. Although Ison just has so many grapes. These are my 3 5-year-old vines. The first one here is Supreme, and of course I show it all the time. It's full of, all 3 of the mature vines are full of grapes this year. Supreme never really disappoints. It always has a decent crop. It always has really huge grapes. Last year it kind of struggled with black rot some, but in the end it pulled through with a smaller crop than usual, but the grapes that did form were really huge. And then we got Ison, and you know, the Muscadines are fair size considering the number, but wow, this vine is just spectacularly full this year. I don't think I've ever had a Muscadine come anywhere near to producing this kind of a crop. Ison is a self-fertile variety. As I mentioned before, it is a black muscadine. It's bred to taste more like a wild muscadine, which makes it a really good one for jellies and jams. At least that's what Ison sort of advertises it for. Supreme is very much a table black muscadine, really intended for fresh eating. Its big characteristic is that its grapes are crunchy. Late Fry is also a table muscadine, and its grapes are crunchy. Over here we have, well, on my way over there, here's a young Darlene. It's a 2-year-old vine that looks like a 1-year-old vine. Now its story is that it's not that it got bit off by a rabbit, but it's that it got hit by black rot last year and really struggled. and this year it's really growing good. Pam here is like the other two mature vines, is just loaded. It was Pam probably had the most of all the grapes. Its third year, so it really matured early. And then last year I over fertilized it, and it didn't bloom well, and then it dropped the grapes that it did form. So I learned a lesson there, that you don't want to give a muscadine that's full grown too much fertilizer, because it will sure drop its grapes if you do. This is Lane. It was planted this year. I sure do wish it would grow more. It's made it to the top of the wire and then some, but I wish it'd continue on down the wire. But right now it looks like it's kind of, I'm guessing it's growing its roots. It might be done growing above ground stuff for this year. I don't know. I hope not, but it might be. Over here we have a 2-year-old vine, which looks exactly the way a 2-year-old vine ought to look, and then some. This is Nesbitt, and Nesbitt has a lot of grapes on it, considering that it's only a 2-year-old vine. So I have a feeling Nesbitt's going to be really productive. This is also a self-fertile one. This is kind of a very traditional muscadine. Its skin's very leathery. It produced 1 or 2 grapes last year. It also kind of reminds me of a wild muscadine. This is my early fry. It's struggled with disease both this year and last year, and it's finally looking like it's growing some, but we shall see. I am not convinced that early fry is disease resistant enough for southeast Georgia. The last one I want to talk about is the Florida fry, and this is also a 2-year-old vine, and it is well on its way to filling its trellis, and maybe we'll get a decent number of grapes off of it next year. I really hope so. And like the others that I planted last year, it struggled with black rot, but this year it really hasn't shown any evidence of black rot at all, and has really been a pretty vine and has grown really well. So we shall see. Well, this is Marcus with my report on my muscadine vines. I'll talk to you all later.